Do you like games, little man?
What?
Let's play a game.
Crazy evil psychopath wants to play a game? Nah, I'm good.
Run to your brother.
Ah yes, the running game. I'm sure this will end well for me.
The sooner you get to him, the sooner you get to see him. That's the game. Ready?
No.
Go. Run to me, brother.
Bruh.
What the heck was that?
Zigzag, you fool. Zigzag. Kobe.
Have you ever fired an arrow into the air and realized it never came down? You'd be surprised to learn that it does come down, it just takes a long time. But how far does it actually travel? This is important because you need to know if your base is within the range of a raider. As you'll see shortly, the sad news is your base will always be in range. For the following calculations, I had to make some assumptions. My character is probably between 5 to 6 feet tall, but I'm going to assume the arrow is fired from an initial height of 0. This is justified because the starting height becomes negligible when compared to the magnitude of the total flight path. Since tape measures are not available in the crafting menu, I needed a way to measure distance. The base unit in the game is the square, aka foundation. Assuming an average human stride is 26.4 inches, it takes 3.25 strides to traverse a square, so a single square height is 85.8 inches long, or 2.18 meters. We need to find the velocity of the arrow when fired as a power shot. I'll aim up as vertical as possible. Using my protractor, I'm estimating the initial fire angle, theta, to be 89.9 degrees. The shot is fired and we wait. For 127 seconds before it returns to the ground. It landed 19 strides away for 501.6 inches or 12.74 meters. With these values, we can find the velocity. Range equals velocity squared times the sine of 2 theta divided by gravity, which we assume is 9.81 meters per second squared. If we rearrange those terms and solve for velocity, we find that the velocity is 189.22 meters per second, which is the equivalent of a black powder musket. For further comparison, traditional recurve and compound bows fire arrows at 69 and 89 meters per second respectively. Now that we know the velocity, we can figure out the max height achieved by the arrow. Before we do the calculation, let's do some experimentation. I built a tower to the max achievable height. I even got an achievement for doing this, so it's definitely worth it. The ceiling is at 327 squares high, or 701 meters. To give you an idea of how high this actually is, if I were to fire a light arrow and have it stick to the ceiling, it would take me so long to fly up there that it would despawn before I was even in range. It takes a long time to free fall from the top. I fired the arrow straight up, and it hits the ceiling. Wow, let's see how high it actually goes according to the formula. Max height is equal to velocity squared times sine squared of theta divided by 2 times gravity, which gives us 1824.87 meters, more than double the height of the structure. Knowing the max height is nice, but the real question remains, how far can we shoot? In terms of testing, this was pretty insane. I started building a straight platform and it quickly got out of hand. The formula for this is slightly more complex.
Distance is equal to velocity squared divided by 2 times gravity multiplied by 1 plus the square root of 1 plus 2 times gravity times the initial firing height divided by velocity squared times sine squared of theta, finally multiplied by sine 2 theta.
This formula shows that the max distance, assuming all level terrain, and an initial firing height of 5 feet, is at an angle of 45 degrees for 3,651 meters, or 1,675.42 squares. I've done many of these tests, but let's do one at a sub 15 degree angle. I'm confident as to where the arrow lands, so I'll sprint ahead and wait for it. boom. Even if I add a few more degrees to this shot, it goes this much further. So how far exactly is the max distance? To put this into perspective, I decided to find a rough estimation for the length of a grid square on the map. I used this section of the bridge, paced it out for 164 strides or 357.41 meters. I then overlaid it on top of the grid. Approximately 3 3/4 bridges fit onto a side for a total grid length of 1310.5 meters. This means that you can literally fire an arrow from 2.79 grids away. You could literally be like a German howitzer during World War I, raining down death and destruction from so far away the enemy can't even see the trail of your arrow. Now I'm going to run through each of the arrow types and then combine their effects. As you probably know, an arrow can be quick fired for smaller stamina drains, but at a shorter range and lesser damage, or it can be charged for a power shot to snipe targets from a distance with more damage but at a greater cost to stamina. Before I shoot the special arrows, I wanted to try a normal arrow, in this case a steel arrow. The target is a tier 3 wall with 70k health. A quick shot and power shot did 24 and 53 damage to the wall respectively. With a power shot, it would take 1321 steel arrows to destroy this wall. Acid arrows, designed to target a player's armor, actually did less damage here with a max of 26 damage. Oil arrows did a max of 42 damage. Poison arrows did the exact same max damage at 42. Light arrows did 29 damage, and smoke arrows did even less at 26. The big hitter of this group, explosive arrows, did a max of 1579 damage. It would take 45 of these to destroy a wall. Now for the combos. Combining acid arrows with explosive arrows in either order had no real benefit. Oil arrows, when fired first, followed by the explosive arrow, had no extra benefit. The explosive could not light the oil. However, if the explosive was fired first and the oil shot into the flames, then it would ignite. Every special effect lasts for 30 seconds, so to get a maximum result with this combo, fire the explosive and then wait for just under 30 seconds, and then fire the oil arrow. This will drag out the burn time to almost a minute. One explosive plus one oil did 2,636 damage to the wall. It would take 27 combo shots to destroy this. Adding additional oils to the first oil had no real extra benefit. Poison arrows behave just like the oil arrows. If the explosive is fired first, then the poison will not ignite it. Instead, fire the poison first, wait about 30 seconds, and then shoot an explosive arrow into it. Rather than continue the burn, it will explode and remove the burn. This combo did 2,559 damage to the wall. For the final combo, I combined explosive plus oil plus poison arrows. I waited 30 seconds for the explosive to burn, then 30 seconds for the oil to burn, and then fired the poison arrow. This gave the highest damage of 3,803. It would take 19 of these combos to destroy the wall. In one of my earlier videos, Explosive Damage Guide Part 2, I tested the splash damage of the explosive. And now I'll do the same with arrows. Compared to explosives, arrows have much more concentrated damage. This explosive arrow hit for max damage on the center wall and its vertical neighbors, but barely damaged any other square. An explosive plus oil had a similar spread, but slightly expanded splash. Finally, an explosive plus oil plus poison combo had a much greater splash due to the poison explosion. It had greater lateral range than it did vertically. Okay, that's it for this video. The next video will compare and contrast explosives, arrows, and orbs. It will combine all three for maximum effect, and we'll look at the resource cost. Following that video, we will take a look at trebuchets, vaults, and weapon damage to players. Also, I've got some PvP footage that spanned a couple of wipes, so I may put together a duo PvP survival series. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.